All right, let's go out to Charlie in Kansas City, Missouri. What is up, Charlie?
Hey, John, how's it going?
Partying, man. What are you up to?
Oh, just working.
Very cool, dude. What's up?
So it's kind of a complicated question, but also not, doesn't seem like a huge deal, but it's really been bothering me.
Okay, bring it on.
So, recently I just got engaged to my fiance, and her parents have generously gifted us 10 acres to build a house on.
Is that 10 acres connected to a family place?
So yeah, there's
Ooh.
30. I mean, it's 40 total, but no one lives here. So,
But it's theirs.
yes.
Yeesh.
So, they've just used it recreationally over the past, whenever they bought it 20 years ago. And, didn't do much upkeep, just hired a farmer to farm the fields and then, rode four-wheelers or dirt bikes or whatever. So over the past, year and a half, 2 years, we spent a lot of time and money.
Hey, talk directly into your phone, Charlie. There you go.
Is it better?
Much better, yeah.
Okay, so over the past, year and a half, 2 years, we've spent a lot of time and money fixing it up, putting in a road, building, basically the utilities for it so that it's usable.
Are y'all already living together?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering why you were fixing up your girlfriend's parents' place, but okay, all right.
Yeah, we've been dating for a very long time.
Okay,
so,
okay, all right.
And we should have been engaged probably before we did, but that's besides the point.
Okay.
Took me a while to get around to it. So the problem comes with my fiance's dad, and it's not that big of a problem, and he's a wonderful guy to be around, except for when it comes to working out at this, this place we're building a house. I have very high standards, with my stuff. I like to keep it nice and keep it looking good. And it seems like every time he comes out here to help, things get ruined. Roads get trashed. Stuff gets mowed that shouldn't be mowed. That type of stuff. And it makes me angry. So, kind of like you say in your podcast, when you get angry, walk away. And I try and do that, so that way I don't, I don't know the right word for it, but it.
How much of the frustration here, of your anger, is because you're not clear? You have a vision for this place, and then he comes to help. So when I moved to my new place out here, I live on some acres out here. I mowed my neighbors. I live next to an elderly neighbor. I mowed their field for them. It took me 4 hours. I was trying to be a good neighbor, show this new person how great I was, and I mowed their hayfield down. Like, yeah. I totally screwed up, dude. It was like, my wife came home and she's like, she grew up out on acreage too, and she's like, "What have you done?" And I was like, "I'm a great neighbor." And she was like, "No, you're not." But I didn't know. So is there a clarity issue, or is he just like a good loving disaster?
And that's part of it. Whenever we bring something up, he apologizes and says he won't do it again, and then the next time he's out here, something happens.
So at what point do you quit inviting him out?
But the thing is, it's his place as well. That's the problem. But he's doing it all out of the goodness of his heart, So it's I don't know how to.
Here's the magic line. You got to choose guilt over resentment, because you're going to get dangerously close to getting sick of the side of this guy.
Well, that's the thing. Right. I mean, he's wonderful to be around elsewhere. I love seeing him, but then when he comes out here, it's like, oh no.
Yes. And so choosing guilt over resentment, meaning I'm going to have to choose the guilt I'm going to feel by telling him, "Hey, I want to learn how to do all this stuff. And so I'm asking you to not help with this property anymore. With the fencing we want to build, with the house clearing, with the field clearing, whatever's going on, I want to do this work myself, or I want to go through the bid process, and I'm so grateful for your heart, but I want to do this." And you're going to feel really guilty, and he might feel hurt. And he might even say, I just gave you 10 acres. You can't tell me what to. And then the other option you have is, I'm not going to take 10 acres adjacent to family farms because they're always going to think it's kind of ours.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to buy the whole thing. I'll buy I'll buy all 40 acres from you, and it's just mine.
Yeah. Well, and that's what, we kind of talked about. But that's the thing. They say, we can do with it exactly how we want. We've maintained all of it. We mow all of it. We, do all the stuff for all of it. And then,
you'll have any kids?
No, not yet.
when y'all have kids, you'll realize, oh, that's not what they mean.
Yeah.
Of course you can do whatever you want to with it, except not really, because it's kind of still mine. Because I gave it to you. So what does your fiance think about this? Does she think you're being ridiculous?
No, she agrees.
Why won't she tell her dad, hey dad, would you stop doing this?
Well, there's communication problems there.
Correct.
So
here's what's about to happen if it hasn't already. You're going to start getting your frustration at him is going to start bleeding off on her.
No, that is not the case.
It's not there, but I'm telling you it's coming.
So how do it's not necessarily my place to, tell him what to do. So how do we go about this?
It's your place to say, hey, please stop coming on my property. It is your place. Unless he gave it to her, and it's not technically yours yet.
Well, and she agrees that we want him to come out and have fun, ride dirt bikes, whatever. Just please stop working, stop.
Have you ever sat down with a I don't know, like a piece of graph paper or a map and said, here's our dream for this, and here's what we want to do, and here's what we're not going to do anymore? You ever done that?
What do you mean?
Meaning, have you ever sat down with him and said, hey, these 10 acres, here's what our plan is. We're going to put a pond over here. We're going to have grazing over here. We want to raise chickens over here. And so we're not going to mow this area at all anymore. This area over here, I want to hire a company to come in and do some professional pond work. I know you can probably do that. I could probably do that, but I want to hire this out, and I want to learn how the GC process works, how the general contracting process works, and what it's like to do it. I want to learn all this stuff. It's going to cost money. It's going to take time, but I want to learn how to do it. Over here, I'm building a chicken coop. If you could help me with that, that would be amazing, right? And so what you're doing is clear as kind. You're being very direct on. And then if he goes and mows a field down that you've sat down and said, hey, we're preserving this, then you can say, hey, man, we talked about this. Then it's a violation. Mm-hmm. Right now, it's just a guy trying to help, and it's like, hey, I got it, dude. He doesn't know what I got it means, and he sees that you're busy, and he wants to be a good father-in-law. You see what I'm saying? It just kind of gets messy because there's no clarity.
Yeah. So sit down and tell him how we actually feel.
Well, and I think it's before how you actually feel. I think it's, here's what our intention is with this 10 acres. Here's our plan. And here's how I want to see this thing play out. Here's how me and my fiance, soon-to-be wife, plan on doing this stuff. And then it's just very clear for him. You don't have to sit him down and be like, and I'm really pissed off that you did it like this and like this. It's less about that and more about, here's our intentions for this. If he violates those, basically what you're doing is you're giving him boundaries. If he violates those boundaries, now we got another conversation to have.
See, but that's kind of, we've already, every time something happens, we ask him to not do that, and then, something else happens. So,
that's what I mean. Is he doing the same thing over and over?
Not really. It's just.
Give me an example of something he's just blown.
We planted a bunch of trees, and they got bush hogged down, but they're not like, they're 5-foot trees. How can you miss those? Or we've installed a a quarter-mile road, and then he goes and drives a big skid loader on it and tears it up, ruts it up and all kinds of stuff by not, by going too fast or turning too quickly, which, it takes me 15 minutes to go over there and smooth it back out. It's not a huge deal, but it's just the premise of it. I don't go over to their house and rut up their yard.
Right. And so what you just gave me is also, mm, I hesitate to, but I call that a character issue. I had somebody come and absolutely trashed my yard recently. A vendor came and just rutted it up, and they wrote me a check for it because they were taking care of their business. It tells me if he's going to come put huge divots and not realize that he's just completely rutted up your field or rutted up your driveway, and doesn't say, "Hey man, I'm going to take care of that. I'm going to come get it fixed up." That's a character issue, right? That's a sit down and say, "Hey man, when you came over and trashed this, it or really made this difficult. That was hard. That was hard for us. I don't have time to come back and fix this stuff up. I'm really grateful for your help, but ultimately, here's the deal. You're trying to piecemeal this. What about this? What about this? What about this? And in your head, how in the world can you go bush hog down 5-foot trees? That's insane. I'll tell you, as just a city guy, I mean, it sounds insane, but I could see myself doing that, just trying to be really helpful. So it's really helpful for a guy like me who loves to help, who loves being outside, to have some clarity over what's right and what's not. That's number one, being super clear. The second thing is being direct, choosing guilt over resentment. I want to be the person who does this, so would you please stop mowing my yard at all? Please don't do any bush hogging on the yard. Please don't be on the driveway that we just had redone. I'm working. Here's my picture. Here's what I'm trying to do here. And he might get his feelings hurt. He might feel guilty. But if you feel comfortable saying, hey, this happened and this happened and this happened, here's what I want to do. I just want to stop all the work on the place, and I want me and fiance to work on it. And it might also be really important for her, since you're not even married yet, for her to sit down with her dad and say, hey, Dad, we want to do this thing together, just us two, just grind it out ourselves. We need you to stop doing work on the place. And we want to own what happens from here. If you want to have a contest to see whose acreage looks nicer, cool, we can do that. But otherwise, I'm telling you, it might not be bleeding over now, but you're going to start getting frustrated with your wife because it's her dad. And you're going to start getting frustrated with yourself because the clarity or this, that. Choose guilt over resentment every single time. And dude, none of this is easy. I don't want you to hear me say this is easy at all. I got a great father-in-law. I love talking to him. He's a great guy. He's just at my house. I'm just imagining this would be a hard conversation for me to have with him. Anybody trying to help. But I still have to have the conversation. Still have to make it happen.